Hello and welcome to the Federal. You're watching our program Off the Beaten Track. This is a program in which we take a very wide look at some issue. So today we are going to be looking at the position of Muslims in the course of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. There is this old saying that the more things change, the more things remain the same. 22 years ago, 2002, that is the time when Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, set up the electoral machinery of the BJP, first in the state of Gujarat, and thereon, after 2014 onward, at the national level. In 2002, the first election which was contested by the BJP under his leadership in Gujarat, he set the tone by making a statement while closing down a riot relief camp that he is shutting it out because he did not want to run baby producing factories. 22 years later, in 2024, while delivering a speech in the city of Banswara in Rajasthan, he said that the Congress is going to seize the personal wealth of people and distribute it to the people who have more children. Mr. Modi obviously seems to be very, preoccupied, or that's, focused on the fact of Muslim children. It's a different story that from 2002 and 24, there has been a complete change in the fertility rates of the Muslims who he is demonizing. So we will be talking not just about this issue. We will be talking about the fact that you have a very large population of Muslims. We are among the largest Muslim populations in the world today. India has. By about 2050, the estimates are that it will be the largest, the Muslim population in the world. There obviously must be, their voice must be heard, their concerns must be reflected. Are they being reflected enough in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections? Also, simultaneously, some assembly elections are also being held, but the spotlight is on Lok Sabha quite for understandable reasons. So, I am going to be talking about this entire gamut of issues with Mr. Zafarul-Islam Khan, who is a renowned scholar. That's the first thing let's begin with, given the fact that he's sitting, in the backdrop of several books. He's a very renowned scholar. Very recently, he's translated the Quran Sharif from Arabic to English. He's also the editor of this prominent newspaper, Milli Gazette, and he's also a former chairperson of the Delhi Minorities Commission. So first of all, Mr. Khan, welcome to this program, and thank you very much for coming and sparing time in the middle of all the assembly elections noise, Lok Sabha election noise, and also your preoccupations.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
So let me start with the very obvious question. That would it be fair to say that Indian Muslims are participating in these elections in the shadow of fear and are facing increased marginalization?
That is true. Yes, I totally subscribe to this issue that Muslims are marginalized. Muslims are now living in fear. Muslims are neglected, not only by BJP, but by other parties as well. I think Hindutva has succeeded a lot, that today not only BJP, but other parties which were earlier very eager to solicit Muslim votes and also to show that Muslims are with them. Now the Congress is not interested. Even last time, 2019, Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad had said that nobody is asking me to come and campaign for the Congress party. That is very much more visible now, that no Muslims is a star campaigner in any party, even those parties like Samajwadi or Bahujan Samaj Party or Lalu Prasad's party, and all these parties which earlier were very eager to show that Muslims are with them. Now nobody is eager. Yes, they want our votes, but otherwise they are not going to give us any importance. They are not giving to give us even nominate us to fight elections. I think this time, perhaps, I mean, last time we had 24 Muslim MPs in parliament. I think this time the count will go down, much down. Even this, although we should be, Muslims in India should be between 80 and 90, should have between 80 and 90 seats in parliament. But this time, I think the numbers are going to go much below even 24 and 23, which has been the norm during the past few elections.
You, I just want to intervene here and just seek a clarification from you. When you said no political party has a star campaigner as a Muslim, as a star campaigner, that's a better way. Is this across the country? Are you trying to say that that barring possibly the Indian Union of Muslim League, which is obviously a party of the Muslims, and a few other handful of parties, no virtual known party has a single star campaigner who is also a Muslim? Is this an all India
I
phenomenon?
think this is my perception. Of course, you cannot count Muslim parties in this. Majlis
Obviously.
Ittihad al-Muslimin or AUDF in Assam or Muslim League in Kerala, you cannot count on them because these are basically Muslim parties or the cadre is basically Muslim. So don't count them, but otherwise count other so-called secular parties. And yeah, I don't find anybody. If there is one, I'm not aware. But I think this is the norm now since the last election, 2019 election. Maybe 2014 was different, but from 19 onwards, I think this is the norm that Muslims should not be seen. Yes, they should vote for us, but we don't want to be seen in their company. And same thing with the Aam Aadmi Party or Congress or RJD or these BSP, SP, and all that. It is the same. Even Trinamool is the same. I mean, they want our votes, yes, but otherwise they will not call us to come to their dais, and they will not print our photos in their advertisements and so on. I mean, this is we have been invisibilized actually here in India as far as the electoral and political presence is required.
You use the word invisibilization, invisibilized has happened, and you were talking about electoral. I have often used this word in my articles. In fact, even for the
Mhm.
federal, I would have written some articles where I say,
Okay.
that how even the Friday prayers, the pressure has been on the Muslims to take it away from the public arena and go back into your homes and recite your Friday prayers, so that way, there is a general invisibilization of the Muslims, which is happening, with a considerable amount of pressure that is being made. Now, this fact that the Muslims are not among the campaigners, the fact that, which means that a message is being sent that we do not want prominent Muslim faces and voices to endorse our candidature. What impact does it have on the average common Muslim citizen of India?
I think the situation of Muslim voters is that either they are not interested in voting or they will be voting according to their previous pattern. Now, in various states and even in various constituencies, people are voting for certain parties. In some areas, they will be voting for Samajwadis. In some other, they will be voting for Congress, and in some others, they will be voting for BSP, and so on. So this will go on. But in general, I think Muslims have lost interest in voting, I suppose. I mean, I think this was one of the reasons why the voting was so low during the first phase, because Muslims did not come out. This is my perception, and I'm not an expert on these things.
Right. No, Muslims losing interest in elections would, if this actually is borne out by the end of the voting on the 1st of June, that we actually are able to get statistical information to say that there was
Yes.
a lower turnout among the Muslims. That would be a very unfortunate development, because it is actually going to be a victory for the majoritarian forces in the country. Now, what I want to ask is that it has generally been presumed that the Muslim voters are not, of course, they are not one cohesive group. They're as splintered as possibly any other section of Indian society. But there is one level of agreement, especially in the last few elections, maybe two, three, four elections, especially since the 1990s, when majoritarian forces have been on the ascendancy in India, that there is a tactical understanding among the Muslim voters that we should identify that party's candidate, which candidate has the best chance of defeating majoritarian forces, the parties, the majoritarian parties and their allies, whoever they have put up, we should try to defeat them. Is this understanding, does it have any basis? That there is an understanding that we should secure ourselves somewhat by at least ensuring that the majoritarian candidate should not get elected to represent our constituency.
I think this was seen during the last election, 2019 elections in Bihar, in some parts of UP. But I don't think it was a national phenomenon. But in some pockets, this was the situation, and perhaps this time also it will be repeated in some
Some part.
constituencies. But it will not be a national phenomenon. I don't think so. People are disinterested because they see that their people, I mean, Muslim candidates are missing, and because of the onslaught of people in power and Godi media and all that against Muslims. So I think there is and this this interest may be one of the ways of getting out of the harm's way. I mean, people don't want to be offensive. They don't want to attract undue attention. Lynching is there. I mean, such things are happening every single day. People want to be safe, and perhaps in rural areas, I think if you go against the majoritarian candidate, perhaps you will attract violence. So I think this will be a local phenomenon. Everywhere people will decide what to do. But in general, people have lost interest in this game, in which they see that they have no presence and they are not required, and only their votes are required, and otherwise their participation in the terms of in participation in the elections as candidates, as members of parliament or assemblies is not required. So this is the situation right now, and it may continue as long as the current I mean, atmosphere and ascendance of BJP and Hindutva wave continues. I think this will continue for some time. And when it goes, I think it should go, because the BJP has committed so many blunders during these past 10 years that they should be voted out. But I don't know what will happen. I'm not a prophet. But if we had uh, voters who are informed, and voters who are educated, and voters who knew what is good and what is bad, I think the outcome would be, I mean, I could foretell the outcome, but this is not the situation in India. Most of our voters are uneducated, or people who are swayed very easily with hate propaganda. So I can't
Right.
foretell how it will go. Uh, yes.
Yes, foretelling is, of course, very
Yes,
difficult.
it is very difficult, and this will have its effect on the Muslim voters as well.
Right. You were talking about the declining Muslim representation in legislature, in parliament as well as in state assemblies. It is true that if you actually even look historically, the fact is that Muslims have never had that kind of representation which they are represented as far as in general society is concerned. The percentage wise, if you actually look at it, it has always been lower than that. All political parties have also been conscious about which constituency should they field the Muslim candidate from. I remember once looking into the past performance in the past record on this count and found that even Maulana Azad was fielded not from ordinary constituencies but from those constituencies, by the stalwarts of the Congress at that time in the 1950s, which had a reasonable number of Muslim voters. So this belief that Muslim candidates should be put up only from the Muslim dominated or rather where Muslims are present in significant numbers, at least 15, 20, 25, or maybe even more, that kind of a percentage should be there. Now this kind of a segregation, what kind of impact on a long term basis has been there on the Muslim psyche of this country?
No, I think what happened in the 50s and 60s, that is very understandable. I mean, people will try to look for or try to find a secure constituency. That is very normal. But now it has changed. Now, even in places where there are Muslim majorities, I mean, no Muslim candidate has been like Rampur, for instance, or
Yes, Rampur is a very
Moradabad.
important instance.
Yes. I mean, earlier, despite Azam Khan's objection, Jayaprada was fielded by Samajwadi Party, and she
Definitely.
has no roots. She has no local roots over there. So this is happening now, and the thing, I mean, this situation is getting worse by every election. What started in, I mean, the best period, I suppose, was 70s and 80s, and now there is decline all the time. Every new election sees that Muslims, not only as voters but also as politicians, local politicians. There are so many people who are aspirant like any other community, but they are neglected, and tickets or rather nominations are given to people who sometimes don't have any roots there in the constituency, but they have clout and they have money, so they are preferred by parties.
Right. Let's come back to what I had started off by telling our viewers, of the more things change, the more things remain the same. Mr. Modi's statement in Banswara. Now, a statement like that, where he says that the Congress is going to grab something from the poor and then going to distribute it to the Muslims in a very vilified kind of a manner. There is actually a tendency to use this as some kind of an Islamophobic. Jeering has become very important in the vocabulary of the Bharatiya Janata Party and its senior leaders. Now, when they listen to something like this, which is obviously a blatantly a lie, because the Congress has nowhere said that it is going to redistribute wealth in this manner, take it from the poor, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. Even the BJP president, Mr. JP Nadda, has issued a video statement where he's once again misrepresented Dr. Manmohan Singh's, speech of 2006 that has been misrepresented. Now, I'm trying to understand that when this kind of a gross, clear misrepresentation of facts is heard by the average Muslim, even though the person may not be politically, very much conscious about it or be interested in politics, but when it comes to being targeted only for their identity, what kind of response does it evoke among them?
You see, the general response in the Muslim community is one of helplessness. People
Okay.
think that no one is going to listen to us. Media is closed. Government is closed. Police is closed. Even the election commission is closed, and only thing which is open, maybe open, is the high courts and supreme courts, and but that is very very expensive. Who can afford to go to the Supreme Court and spend 20 of 30 or 40 lakh rupees, to to be heard, because if you hire an ordinary lawyer and advocate, he will not be heard properly. So, in a way, I think the general perception in the Muslim community, and I think I can claim that I know the community very well. I've been living here, and
Yes,
I
of course
also
you
in
have.
various positions in the community itself. I was president of the All India Muslim Majlis Mushawarat for 3 terms.
Understand.
So I can say that this is the general perception of helplessness right now, that there is no hope in this situation. So they are just biding their time, waiting for the best and waiting for things to change. But otherwise, they think that they cannot do something themselves. This is the situation, and in this situation, people try to play safe, not to say something, not to tweet, not to put anything on social media, and so on. People are playing safe. This is the situation right now. Yes.
Yes, I think the word that you used previously, invisibilization, that they want to invisibilize themselves so that no harm comes
Themselves.
their way.
Yes.
Keep
Yes.
quiet, stay out of the
Mm.
public, spotlight. Those are the kind of thoughts which possibly govern them. Now let me try
Yes.
to be the devil's advocate. The BJP says that we are not actually discriminating against Muslims. Look at any of the government schemes. We do not look at the religious identity of the applicant when they come for Ujwala connection. We do not look at the religious identity of a person when deciding who has to be given a loan to build a toilet or a home, under various schemes which are there. Basically, trying to say is that these are all non discriminatory welfare programs of the government of India run by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So, how can you call us as being discriminatory towards Muslims? In a situation like that, when you hear this argument from the BJP, what is your first response?
You see, it is the responsibility of every government, whether in India or in Fiji or UK or Nicaragua, anywhere, to take
Hmm.
care of its people, and
Right.
especially the poor people, the illiterate people, the people who have no resources. So if the BJP is doing it, it's not doing any big thing. It is normal. They should be doing it. But what is seen here, and various reports, Gopal Singh's report and later Sachar's report, they showed that Muslims have. I mean, I've gone. I mean, to quote such a report, that Muslims are now in certain aspects, certain indices, Muslims are even below the SC/STs.
Right.
That is why, in that context, Dr. Manmohan Singh said that not only minorities, he said the SC/ST and minorities, and
Yes.
especially Muslims, perhaps he said, should
A
be
whole bunch of
have.
underprivileged citizens of the India. I said that the whole
Yes,
bunch
citizens of India, and it is the responsibility of every government to try to work for the betterment of the people who are at the lowest level of society. It is not only because Muslims, because tomorrow, if Sikhs are like that or Buddhists are like that, I think Buddhists are like that. I should say Buddhists are even below the Muslims. This is what I found while I was chairman of Delhi Minorities Commission, that Buddhists are perhaps people who are at the lowest level in every sense. So these people, such people, should get special attention of any government, whether it is BJP or RSS or whatever government is there, Congress or communist, any government. It is their responsibility to try to lift this segment to the level of ordinary citizens of India, to take care of them in terms of education, in terms of welfare schemes and all that. So what Dr. Manmohan Singh said, what was common sense, and this should be the policy of every government, not only of Congress or BJP. Every government should be doing it. And now here in as you see, our Prime Minister and Mr. Nadda and many others are speaking this thing. that Congress has some special concern for Muslims. This is rubbish actually.
Hmm.
All the marginalization that happened after independence happened during the time of the Congress. Congress has been ruled India, I think, for more than 5 decades, and all this happened during the Congress times. The border areas were emptied during Congress times. Our Indian Punjab had 34% Muslims before partition, and after partition, first census said that there were 0.5% Muslims in Punjab, and they were driven away. That was government policy of the Congress government, which was headed by Nehru, and the Home Minister was Mr. Patel. This was their policy. So I mean, we should not be fooled that Congress did anything special for Muslims. Yes, they had some concern for Muslims, that you will find some MPs. Who were fielded by the Congress party, and some ministers in the Congress cabinets. Yes, that is true. And now you see, I mean, you can compare it with Mr. Modi. There is no Muslim in the cabinet. There is no Muslim MP from the ruling party in the central parliament or in assemblies on the ticket of the ruling party. So this is the situation. This is how they plan. This is not something which happened, uh, without any plan. This must have been planned very well, that Muslims should not be given. And this is what the Hindutva says. This is what RSS says, that Muslims should be marginalized. Muslims should
Right.
be reduced to second-class citizens. Muslims and Christians, of course, also should be treated as guests. This is what their literature says. So this is well planned, and what they're doing is nothing very I mean, new, or
Surprising.
it is not any special policy under Mr. Modi
Right.
himself, but it is started even when Mr. Advani was the Home Minister and Deputy Prime Minister.
Right.
He was saying every single day, he was saying that not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims, which was a blatant lie. But
Yes.
he was repeating it every single day, and he was saying that madrasas are dens of terrorism. That is a blatant lie. No madrasas has been proved to be teaching terrorism or to be base of terrorists, but he was repeating it every single day. So this is their policy. If Mr. Modi is doing it, Mr. Nadda is doing it, or Mr. Rajnath Singh is doing it, it is their general policy.
I'll jump the gun a bit. I had intended to ask you about the madrasas and trying to understand it from you, but since it
Yes.
has come up, I'll take it up at this point
Okay.
only. To what
Okay.
extent, can you explain it? Now, this is something which I'd like to explain it to you, a non-Muslim viewer, that what is the importance and the necessity of madrasas in the psyche of the average Muslim? Why can't they say that why can't they go through the normal standard public educational system? Why madrasas?
You see, first of all, according to such a committee, only 3%, or I think 4% children, Muslim children, go to madrasas.
Okay,
That is 96% or 97% are going to ordinary schools.
ordinary
I mean,
public
whether they are
schools.
government schools or private
Education.
schools, they are going there. So it is not a very big deal if 3% or even 4% are going to madrasas. You see, we need madrasas. I'm not very, I myself, I have studied in madrasas, but I'm not very happy with the state of the with
State
the
of
condition of madrasas now. They must be modernized. They must be teaching modern subjects. They must be conducting examinations for high school and for higher secondary, which they are not doing. So that is a different thing, and we have been, I personally and many others have been demanding this madrasas
to
should
be
change.
reformed.
But also we need madrasas because we need people as religious guides, as imams of mosque, as muezzin of mosque, as teacher in madrasas. in general, I mean, every community, I mean, you have gurukuls and you have seminaries, Christian
Yes.
seminaries and all that. We are doing the same thing because every community needs teachers and guides
You are
in their religious affairs. So this is why we need. And
right.
madrasas, if you look slightly, behind, you will find that madrasas started only after 1857. There were no private madrasas before 1857. There were government schools. I mean, madrasa
Right.
means school. Actually, madrasa is not something
Yeah.
very strange. It means a school. Madrasa in Arab countries, in 23 Arab countries, schools are called madrasas. So these private madrasas, religious madrasas, started only after 1857, when some Maulana, some of our scholars at that time, they thought that now those madrasas which were run by the Mughals at that time, now they will be run by the British, and the British will try to force Muslims to learn things which are not
But
patriotic or not Islamic. And that is why they started madrasas, and after that they mushroomed in all these areas, not only in what is India now, even in Bangladesh you have the same strain, in Pakistan you have the same strain, and maybe also in Afghanistan you have the same strain. So this was to meet a certain need after 1857, when people were not ready to send their children to government schools or government madrasas. They should have changed, and some have changed, of course. I mean, I'm not saying that none has changed, but many have not changed, and this is our demand, and I think this is the responsibility of the government. Manmohan Singh started this process, that he floated the idea of a central madrasa board, so that all madrasas are affiliated to it, and they have to teach certain subjects
some
in
kind of
addition to
norm.
what they're teaching, Urdu, Arabic, and all that. They also have to teach modern subjects, but then some of our Maulanas objected, and the government, found it safe not to close that chapter. I think any government, whether it is Modi government, Manmohan government, or whatever, it is their duty to force it on madrasas, that they must teach modern subjects,
Modern norm.
and must in addition to what they're teaching, and it is not difficult. And I have said this way on many forums, this thing, and I've written about it, that you have the good example of Al Azhar University, where I have studied myself in Egypt. They are in the school or in madrasa. They are teaching both. I mean, they are teaching Islamic subjects, Arabic subjects, and also modern subjects. So you have a very good, and Al Azhar does not have one madrasa. They have thousands of madrasas across Egypt, and also in other areas like in Gaza they have, and in Indonesia they have. So this is a model that could be studied and could be replicated here in India. But I think this needs that the government should be involved, and the government should propagate, and the government should force madrasas to accept it, because what is happening now, that there is no standard madrasa. There are some good madrasas, yes, but otherwise they are just passing their time, and not doing any good service to the children who are interested to them.
Right. You have been taking us very nicely, kind of hand holding us through some of the points which we have been raising in this conversation. One last question, related to this elections, just on the eve of the elections being called, the government of India, it actually came out with the rules for the CAA, the Citizenship Amendment Act, which led to great protests in 2019 and 2020, and which were eventually, the protests died down, not because the protests were delegitimized or they lost support, but because of COVID. So,
Yes,
definitely, given the fact that it remains a live, unresolved issue, and the fact that the government of India has not since then not issued the rules just on the eve of elections, what message did it send to the Muslims who remain, as a community, besides other sections of Indians also, large number of Indians who are not Muslims are also very strongly opposed to CAA. That is what needs to be underscored. It's not just something backed by the Muslims. But by and large, within the Muslim community, what was the response to the government decision on the eve of the elections?
You see, the government thinks that, the Muslim community thinks that this is just a start. I mean, CAA is a start, and now they are going to give citizenship to certain people who were deprived of it and should have got it long ago. People who are sitting here or residing here for the last 5, 6, 7 decades and still they are deprived. They should be getting, and I think nobody can object to that. I mean, this is their right, and this is an injustice done to these people who are living in India. I think, like any other country, if you live there for 5 years, you get entitled to get citizenship. This should be the norm here in India also. So, I mean, nobody is objecting to that. But the other part of that is, which is NRC and the door-to-door surveys and all that. So that will mean that Muslims alone will be excluded from the process. Others can always come and say that I came from Afghanistan, I came from Pakistan, I came from Bangladesh, and get a false affidavit and get the Indian citizenship. But Muslims will not be allowed to do this. And if this happens, if NRC really comes and with these door-to-door surveys on the basis of certain very difficult documents which are being demanded. I mean, just now CA, they have so much, diluted these documents. Now, even if you get a paper from a village, Mukhia, that is sufficient. Anything is sufficient for the CA, for people who are asking for Indian citizenship as citizens, as former citizens of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. But when it comes to Indians, Indian Muslims, they will have to produce birth certificates, an official birth certificates,
A lot of paper.
matriculation certificate, and all these, which were demanded in Assam. So why this discrepancy? I mean, here for CA, you dilute it so much that any paper will suffice. But when you are doing survey and trying to find who is an Indian, who is not, the documents which are being asked are very difficult to get in India. I mean, who I myself don't have any official birth certificate. I mean, maybe people of my age, 99% of my age, maybe don't have that certificate. I am now 76, and I think people who are born at that time, I mean, they used to be born in their homes. Actually, they used to get women dayas and also, and they used to do it at home. It was very rare for people to go to hospitals to get delivery, which is now becoming, at least in towns and in big cities, this is the norm now, that people are going to hospitals for deliveries. But this was not the norm before independence, or at the time of independence, or in early days after the independence. So to ask people to give you a birth certificate, to a matriculation certificate, or property documents, I mean, this means that a lot of Muslims, maybe 20, 30 million Muslims, will not be able to produce these papers, and they will be
Happen.
declared, like in Assam, they used to say, at him who is de-voter, and now here people will be denied their citizenship. And when you are denied, just look at the Rohingyas, what is happening to them, trying to reach. I mean, they are just 6 lakhs Rohingyas in Burma. And what a big problem they are causing to their neighbors, to Thailand, to
Right.
Malaysia, to Indonesia, to Australia, and also to some Arab countries, to Pakistan, to Saudi Arabia. So just think of it, when 20, 30 million Muslims will be deprived of their nationality, what will happen within India and outside India? And I think a lot of these people will take to crimes and all that. It will be a big problem for India. So people who are doing this are not doing any service to India. they are doing a great disservice.
I think that's
And
well
if
put.
that happens, just to add it, if that happens, I think you will see that the sign bars will be reactivated and you will have sign bars everywhere. If that happens, when the door-to-door surveys start, and I think there will be a lot of demonstrations and agitation across India as it happened before in 2019 and 20, early 20, that will be
Yes.
revived once
At,
again.
at that time, of course, the protests were very peaceful and completely Gandhian, non-violent in nature. But as you have explained, that if this goes on beyond a certain point, one really does not know whether the proverbial Rubicon would be crossed and a large number of people might start
Yes,
resorting to crime, and it might lead to all kinds of law and order and social problems
yes.
in India. Thank you very much, Mr. Zafarul Islam Khan. You have talked about a sense of helplessness which is there, a sense of alienation among the Muslims as we are in the middle of elections. We just hope that the verdict and the entire electoral process that we are undergoing at the moment does not lead this to be converted into some kind of a sense of hopelessness, because hopelessness is something which we Indians collectively can do without. We need to be hopeful of the future and have the faith that we will be able to change the future of the country and give equality and all the other enshrined rights which are there in our constitution to all the people of this country. Thank you very much, Mr. Zafarul Islam Khan, once again. Thank you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.